Good morning, everyone. Good morning. If everyone wants to take their seats, we're going to enjoy our prelude by our special music ministers, JP and Miriam. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. To get us started, I'm picturing a campfire in this area. I can see it. I hope you're learning to see this campfire because we're going to do a sing-along in the spirit of Pete Seeger, and it's called Jacob's Ladder. So I'll lead you through it, and then you can join me. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are brothers, sisters all. We are brothers, sisters all. Let's try that. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are brothers, sisters all. Every rung goes higher and higher. Every rung goes higher and higher. Every rung goes, sing it out, higher and higher. Sing it out. Every rung goes higher and higher. We are brothers, sisters all. Every rung makes us stronger. Every new rung makes us stronger. Every new rung makes us stronger. Every new rung makes us stronger. We are brothers, sisters all. Every round, a generation. Don't feel free to harmonize. Every round, a generation. Let's hear it. Every round, a generation. Every round, a generation. We are brothers, sisters all. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. Let's hear it. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are brothers, sisters all. We are brothers, sisters all.
Welcome. Thank you very much, JP and Miriam. Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Hamilton, whether you are here in the sanctuary or online. Please take a moment to ensure that your electronic devices are muted. And also a quick welcome to our friends from St. Paul United who have come here today. My name is Joan McNeil. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a member of our affordable housing team, and this morning I'm the service leader. This service, like every service, is only possible through the efforts of a whole team that includes our music ministers, J.P. Morrison, Miriam Timmermans, and Rachel Derry, our tech team of Claire Miles, Cindy Carey, and John Elliott, worship associates Susan Johnstone and Ian Johnstone, our greeters Rita Mubarak and Julia Rock, Nancy Wilson on the visitors desk, our ushers Daphne Payne and Karen Moore, and our religious educator, who is Tim Versteeg. Thank you to all of you. And I'm very pleased to welcome Medora Upal, the CEO of the Hamilton YWCA, who is our speaker today, and whom I will introduce at greater length later. We have a few announcements today. One, join Blooms for Africa today at 2 p.m. in the sanctuary for an afternoon of storytelling and music provided by the Burlington Storytellers Guild as a fundraiser for the Stephen Lewis Foundation. There will be tea and cookies, jewelry sales, and Pat Dickinson's memoir available for purchase. Tickets are $15 and available from Blooms members. Second announcement is from Joanne Tunnicliffe. Now is the time to bring your bags of leaves to the gazebo so that we can put our Carolinian gardens to bed. Thanks for protecting our beautiful garden. From Kelly Wolfe, the Queer Joy Potluck is open to all in the queer community and is held third Sunday of each month after service. That's today. A main dish will be provided. Please feel free to bring a salad or side dish, fruit, etc. to round out the table, or just bring yourselves. There's always enough to go around. You are welcome here. We look forward to sharing with you. And number 4, from the Social Justice Team. Beginning next week, November 26th, the bi-monthly Social Justice Hub meeting will be held after church from 12 to 2 p.m. in the sanctuary. All congregants who are interested in social justice activities are welcome to join us. Bring a snack. Hybrid is an option if you are interested in attending virtually. Please reach out to Kelly Wolfe via the social justice email in advance. The 5th announcement is Transgender Day of Remembrance event, and that is tomorrow. Actually, is Transgender Day of Remembrance. And the only area event we've been able to identify so far is a free event in Binbrook tomorrow night from 7 to 8:30 p.m. at the Southbrook Golf and Country Club. Search for Binbrook Pride on Facebook for the details. The housing team is hosting a question and answer and letter writing session today after the service. And we encourage you to stay after the service here in the sanctuary for the session with Medora, where we can learn more about what is happening in housing and homelessness in Hamilton. We'll have snacks, and we have, as you can see, letters to all 3 levels of government that you can simply sign and print your address at the bottom, or sign and add a note of your own, or sign up for us to send you letters so that you can recraft them in your own words. But please return them to us for mailing. And then for more information, you can see the all-church email and the church website. So for about registering for these events. So today, this is our service to mark National Housing Day, and it's our 8th annual service to mark this day, which has come to be an occasion to both celebrate those working to ensure housing for everyone, but also to acknowledge the distance we still have to go to reach that goal. On or near November 22nd each year, we remember declarations made in the fall of 1998 that homelessness had become a national emergency that required immediate and substantial government intervention. 25 years ago, one of those declarations by the Toronto Disaster Relief Committee said, morally, economically, socially, and legally, we cannot allow homelessness to become normal in Canadian life. Sadly, homelessness has become all too normal. In Hamilton, the city knows the names of almost 1,700 people currently experiencing homelessness, with more than 300 of them on the street. But our housing crisis stretches far beyond homelessness. At least 28,000 Hamilton households, and that's a significant underestimation, live in core housing need. And we have to remember that households often include more than one person. So they face housing costs they can't afford and which continue to rise faster than incomes. Or they live in homes that are overcrowded or need major repairs. We know we can do better. And Medora and the YWCA that she heads are part of a collaborative effort in Hamilton called Hamilton is Home, which you may have heard about before, which has presented concrete plans to all three levels of government to start to do better and quickly, get going on it. Our draft letters support those plans. Today we also mark Transgender Day of Remembrance, which is tomorrow. Transgender Day of Remembrance was started in 1999 by transgender advocate Gwendolyn Ann Smith as a vigil to honor the memory of Rita Hester, a transgender woman who was killed in 1998 in Boston. Her murder remains unsolved. This vigil and this Day of Remembrance commemorated and commemorates all the transgender people lost to violence since Rita Hester's death, and reaffirms resistance to the many ways governments and individuals seek to erase transgender people. Again, we know we can do better. And now we'll have the chalice lighting. Okay. I ask the other members of the affordable housing team to come up and light our chalices. Sorry. I could blow it out if you want, and you could light it again. Okay. We formally begin our services by lighting a chalice, a symbol of our faith that was originally developed during the dark days of World War II. It is a reminder of the light and hope at the center of our faith tradition. And for today's service, we can also imagine it as symbolizing the warmth of the home that we all need and deserve. Please join me in our chalice lighting words. May this flame be our light of friendship and love. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your circumstances, and wherever you may be on your journey of faith or search for meaning, today you are one of us, and you are welcome in this house of faith. Our mission is to nurture one another, serve the community, and inspire action to heal the world. We acknowledge that we are located on the lands of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas. These lands are covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt, an agreement between the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee to share and care for the lands and waters around the Great Lakes. The lakes are covered by a treaty, the 1792 Between the Great Lakes Purchase Agreement between the Crown and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. In the context of housing and homelessness, we acknowledge how settler colonialism uprooted Indigenous peoples from their lands, disrupting relationships among people and with the land, water, and their creatures. We celebrate those like Sacagawea Nonprofit Housing and the Ontario Aboriginal Housing Services who are working to heal the wounds, those wounds, and provide housing for Indigenous people. We seek a new relationship built on mutual respect with our Indigenous neighbors. And when we look at how many people are unhoused, we may despair. when we look at how many would like to buy a home but can't afford to, or when we look at how many struggle to pay ever-rising rents or fear or actually face evictions, we may feel overwhelmed, we may turn away. But there are other truths, and these are important to remember. We once built tens of thousands of affordable homes every year. We could do that again. In Calgary, the city is turning office towers into homes. In Fredericton, homeless people are building their own new homes and learning job skills as they are housed. Peterborough has built a tiny cabin community in 6 months, for example. Across the country, nonprofit builders and housing co-ops are ready and able to develop the projects and build the homes we need. And we have advocacy groups that have identified the massive need and laid out plans to meet it. And every level of government is under intense pressure to do more. We can help build that pressure, and if we do, we can build, period. And now we'll have a hymn.
Hi, everyone. You are willing and able, and we will sing 1017, Building a New Way. Here we go. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free, feeling pain and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, this world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry. Yeah.
Tim Versteeg will read our Story for All Ages.
Good morning. My name is Tim Versteeg. I have the great privilege of being a religious educator for the First Unitarian Church of Hamilton. My pronouns are he, him. We have a couple of quick things I'd just like everybody to know about in the next little while that are multi-generational events. We have a potluck coming up on Friday, which will be followed by a games night, and this starts in our lobby at 6 p.m. All are welcome. Next Sunday, I want to make sure everybody knows there will be a very special service about Diwali, that Karen Trollope Kumar and Pradeep Kumar will be leading and sharing their experience in the celebration, and it should be excellent. And also a reminder that next week is our Eva Rothwell collection for their emergency pantry, and there will be more details about what's needed there midweek and in the ACE this week. And finally, in 2 weeks from today at noon, there will be a Christmas bazaar led by our intrepid youth group who are trying to raise money to go to Edmonton for a youth conference next May. So bring some cash, because we're not going to do any sort of other things. We'll take cash though. And we will be selling puzzles, games, handmade ornaments, and home and church baked treats. So that will be nut-free. So please plan to come on after church 2 weeks from today, and it'll just be back in Fellowship Hall there. Our story for all ages today is called Crumbs. It is written by Phil Cummings and Shane DeVries. Ella sat at a table on a crowded city street. The world was in winter shadow, and the wind was icy cold. She sang in a whisper while her dad stood in a line to buy lunch. They had been shopping, and Ella had bought treasures with the coins she'd saved. She loved the thick scarf that trapped the warmth of her breath best of all. As she sat waiting, she spied a one-legged bird hopping from one table to another. Up, down, and around it danced in search of crumbs. With a fragile flutter, it came to Ella. It balanced precariously on the back of the chair. It teetered, but never fell. Ella watched it, and it watched Ella, tilting its head pleadingly. A morsel was its gold, but Ella had nothing to give. A man with prickle bush whiskers, wild hair, and his life in a bag on his back came weaving through the flow of the crowd. He reached out to people, one quivering hand pleading for change. With head bowed, he spoke quietly, nervously. "Can you help me? Just a little will do." People shook their heads and turned their backs, rounded like boulders. But he asked again and again and again, pecking at the crowd until his voice was lost to the roar of traffic and haunting whistle of the icy breeze. Ella watched as the man sat and hung his head. His laden shoulders slumped like the broken wings of a storm-weary bird. The one-legged bird left Ella's chair and flew from person to person. Some ignored it. Some shooed it away. Some growled, cruel and angry. No one fed it. Then the bird flew to the man with the unlaced shoes. It landed at his side. With a curious tilt of its head, the bird hopped closer and closer. The man looked at the bird. He spoke to it in a soothing whisper that Ella couldn't hear. His cold fingers dug deep into the pocket of his coat as Ella's father returned and laid lunch on the table. The man with prickle bush whiskers and wild hair took a crumpled paper bag from his coat. Ella and her father watched as he emptied it into the palm of his weathered hand until the bird hopped over and gently ate the crumbs. Ella looked at her father. He was smiling, gently, kindly. "Come on," he said. They walked over and helped the man up. A smile shone from the deep shadows of his prickle bush whiskers, and the three sat together and shared lunch. And when Ella scattered their crumbs by the table, the little bird hopped over to join them. That's the end of our story today. So, if the children would like to meet Mary Eve and I at the corner, we will be going out and we will be talking further about our golden rule and other faiths in our world. And if Lila, who's walking away, could grab the chalice, that would be great.
In these moments of contemplation or meditation, I invite you to relax, close your eyes if you wish, and to breathe deeply. Following our reading, there will be a few moments of silence followed by music. During the music, you're welcome to come forward to light a candle of joy or concern. We begin with these words. Faith doesn't necessarily mean believing in a God. Faith is having trust in your sense of rightness. Hope is clinging to that trust in the direst circumstances. Love is deciding to care for this world, no matter what horrors come our way. Thus, we keep despair at bay, and when we add a daily dose of laughter, we're on our road to healing. part of building a nurturing community includes sharing our joys and sorrows. And today we share the following by Catherine Buta. My mom in a nursing home still doesn't talk much. She's been there for about 3 years. Well, that's a strong concern. We have a joy from Joanne Tunnicliffe. We did it. Several bags of leaves have retired our gardens for the winter. Thank you so much for your help. You can now keep leaves for your own gardens. Okay. Good to know that, Joanne. Okay. We know that there are sorrows among us too tender to share. We hold those in this space today with the reminder that we are never alone. And there are joys among us too. We celebrate the joys among us and rejoice in the happiness that flows through our community. If you have joys or sorrows to share, you can write them in the book on the table to my right, or email them to Reverend Jamie at uuhamilton.ca. And now we come to the offering. The offering that we accept each Sunday is a defining tradition in our faith, whose congregations are self-governing and self-financing. So there is a symbolism as we pass the collection basket. All our donations through the offering and our pledges sustain the work of this community. With gifts freely given, we express the generosity that is at the heart of this liberal religion. We will now take up an offering as we listen to our music ministers. Your gifts in support of our ministries to one another and to the community are appreciated. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce our guest speaker. Our speaker today, Medora Upel, has been Chief Executive Officer of YWCA Hamilton since last December. She has 25 years of experience in the nonprofit sector, primarily with Good Shepherd and YWCA Hamilton, supporting families, women, girls, and gender-diverse people through a feminist, intersectional, human rights-based approach. Medora has a history of advancing housing solutions for women, children, and families, including helping to develop Hamilton's first affordable permanent housing residence for single and mother-led families with the 50-unit Putnam Family YWCA on Ottawa Street. Medora won a YW Woman of Distinction Award in 2011 for community development and social activism, and a YWCA Canada National Award in 2019 for her leadership in getting Carol Ann's Place launched. Carol Ann's Place is a low-barrier drop-in for unsheltered women and non-binary individuals. Among other roles, she is currently chair of the Women's Housing Planning Collaborative. I welcome you to our pulpit, Medora.
Thank you, Joan. I think Joan is doing a wonderful job leading the service today. It's her first time. And I want to thank Bill for creating space on the stage so that I would be up here with another woman standing here. He listened and read some of my work and created thought about it and created this space and opportunity today. So I have to admit, I'm feeling a little bit of pressure delivering a sermon in a church that's not my own, in front of a group of relative strangers, although there are some familiar faces, and asked to bring a message of hope and inspiration. So I'm going to start by not giving you false hope. Everything I say today will have been said before, maybe not by me, maybe not in the same way that I will say it. I don't consider myself to have a unique voice. I have a common voice, shared by many friends and colleagues in the feminist movement. And I don't want to mislead you. I'm not a person with religious faith. I live for the present and the future, and I understand my own mortality. But I do live with hope. Hope is what I hold on to every day, and I find it in small victories. And in that, I find my faith in the work I do. At the age of 21, I started my career working in women's shelters. I stumbled into an opportunity, but what I thought was pure luck or chance, I now realize was structured by design to give young people a job they would not have access to without a federal funded program created for post-secondary students, a program that still exists today. It's funny to me how easily we believe in chance or luck and how blind we are to the systems that create opportunities or reinforce barriers. So at that time, I was a bright, eager, and idealistic student on a mission to change the world. I'd done lots of reading and debating over the years on the oppression of women, racial discrimination and inequities faced by poor and marginalized populations. I had my own lived experience of gender-based violence, and I was no stranger to poverty and discrimination in my community growing up in the northeast end of Hamilton. But I had no idea how to translate my personal mission to change the world into the real job in front of me, which was supporting women's daily survival fleeing violence and homelessness. Suddenly, there I was, 21, opening the door every day to women struggling to survive. The struggle for social justice, for women's right to live free of violence and to have safe housing, is about uprooting systems of inequality and requires bringing women into power to create change. It's a marathon and not a sprint. But it's a challenge to balance pushing our advocacy for change while not losing sight of the daily struggle for survival that women and gender-diverse people face. We can't morally and ethically watch people suffer and die on the streets or in their homes while we push for big changes and wait for governments and the bureaucracy that entangles them to figure it out. This is the push and the pull of the work I often find myself in. Over the years, hearing hundreds and hundreds of stories of women, trans women, and children facing homelessness and violence, it's impossible to remember them all. And you can see it makes me emotional thinking about it. So it's probably better that I don't. But you draw out themes and start to recognize the common problems and solutions. And some stories just stick with you and motivate you because in their struggle and tragedies, you find hope. I remember a mother who had just arrived at the shelter with her 2 young teenagers. She barely spoke, made little eye contact, and her kids were quiet and careful in their broken sneakers and clothes too small. They were afraid, and we knew that it would take time to build trust after the trauma they had been through. What we had to do was work slowly and cautiously. September was a few weeks away, and these kids starting a new high school would become targets for bullying, further trauma and pain if we didn't get them just the basics: running shoes, clothes, school stuff they needed so they could have a good start. They had no money, and the shelter staff were the only people they knew. We knew we had to help them all find the confidence and sense of safety that had been stripped away from them over the years. We wrapped our services around them. My colleagues all knew instinctively from our experience that it would be too easy to fail this family. So we helped them secure housing, helped the mother find employment, and supported her and the kids for a few years until she had what she needed to care for her family. It was their faces and their pain in those early days that stuck with me. I would run into the mother a few times over the years. Sorry, I wear contacts and now I've really messed myself up here. So I'd run into her a few times over the years, after she was no longer receiving services from us. She would always greet me with great enthusiasm. I remember her telling me about her promotion at work and the accomplishments of her kids in high school. And I remember she thanked me for how I had helped her in such a sincere way that I really felt a sense of accomplishment. And I felt like every challenge I was now facing in my career, advocating for funding, creating new services, fighting to build housing, was all worth it. In the years following, I would hear in the media about the incredible success of her children as adults, knowing they had defied the odds and achieved what people only dream of. This story would contribute to my belief that the work I engaged in is life-changing. In no way could I take credit for their success, but it gives me the hope that I am on the right path. What I know we need to do is to create a whole response to the challenge of housing people. Yes, we need affordable housing and a more housing supply. We also need to prioritize housing that is safe, high quality, and environmentally sustainable. But women's experiences have also shown me that we need to invest in supports as part of housing solutions. Most women are unhoused because of violence, and once they are without housing, their vulnerability and risk of experiencing violence increases. And trans women face the greatest risks. Those who are mothers suddenly become responsible for caring for their children with half the income they had before, or no income at all. Most of the unhoused women coming into shelter without children have a long history of precarious housing, moving in and out of unsafe situations and deep poverty. Child protection and institutionalization have typically been part of their lives. Housing stability requires more than just a place to live. It requires a caring community with supports that address the complex challenges women and trans people are facing. We need to integrate into our housing response access to childcare, healthcare, and economic advancement so women can be self-reliant and have the financial security to care for their families. A mission to change the world is an audacious one, and so it may sound naive. I was recently talking with a woman CEO in the corporate sector who oversees a very large regional corporation. And she told me she intends to change the world. I questioned her audacity. I too said I wanted change, but I was focused on changing my community. Wasn't that more realistic? Isn't the world a little big? But even as I was saying this, I had to shake myself. What was wrong with this conversation? How did a feminist CEO in the corporate world, who is a similar age to me, become more idealistic than me, a feminist CEO in the nonprofit social justice sector? Something had gone wrong. What happened to that bright, eager, idealistic 21-year-old? I've spent years advocating for system changes. I've developed programs and services that brought meaningful change to the lives of women and children. I've been part of leading the increase of shelter beds for women in Hamilton and part of leading the recent development of the 50 affordable permanent apartments for women and children at the Putman Family YWCA, a $25 million undertaking. And after 10 years of fighting alongside Denise Christopherson for proper and equitable funding for transitional living at YWCA, I had won that battle for $2.6 million in annual funding in my first few months as CEO. With these major victories and others under my belt, why had I stopped believing in my mission to change the world? I started working in this field in 1997 in Hamilton, when we had one shelter with 9 beds for unhoused single women. It was unusual for even 8 beds to be full for more than a few days in that first year. And then suddenly one day, a year or more later, it all just changed. It wasn't a tsunami effect, but a slow creep of a rising tide that started over a few years and couldn't be held back by doubling the number of beds or adding more shelters or investing in housing-first solutions and services. There were hundreds of unhoused women and children in Hamilton. Suddenly, the women were visible on the street, putting up tents, lining up nightly at our doors at Carol Ann's Place. Up to 60 unsheltered women and gender-diverse people coming to our space daily, over 900 since March 2020. And many more women and children waiting in hotels. While we didn't see the pandemic coming, we did see the housing crisis coming. Women's shelters started ringing alarm bells in 2010, and we weren't believed until our streets were filled with encampments. Now that may sound familiar to you. People on the ground feeling the early effects, crying out for help, experts in the field warning of what is coming, the crisis that's already here, our world is burning. This is what stops us from believing we can change the world, when it feels like no one is listening and nothing is changing fast enough. So in shaking myself from that conversation with that brilliant feminist CEO who's going to change the world, I remembered how wrong I was when I thought that opportunities came from chance or luck. Opportunities are constructed, and change comes through hard work. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Those new programs and services, the funding investments, the new shelter beds, the new affordable housing investments that are improving lives, came because we fought for them. I, along with many others, used our positions to influence that change. We helped tell the untold stories of women facing violence and homelessness. We brought forward practical strategies to create change. We demanded the funding. And we helped move more women and allies into positions of power, including changing the composition of elected people in this country and in this city. Now, my conversations with the powers that be aren't to convince them that we have a crisis, that we need housing solutions for women and children. Now my conversations are all about how do we do it. That's what progress looks like. It's about changing the conversation. But you can't do that unless you have people in positions of power who already understand the issues enough that you don't have to convince them, because you have told the stories enough. You have silenced the cynics, the people who were working against you. And there have been a lot of people in power working against us over the years. What you can't let happen is for progress to move backwards. You can't stop fighting. You can't go silent, and you have got to keep those who understand your cause in power and hold them accountable. That's how we change the world. You want a solution for this housing crisis. You want to know how this congregation can create change? Don't let people who don't care or understand these issues become the decision makers. Don't stop talking about the problem. Invest in women's organizations and other nonprofits who you believe are creating solutions. Send letters to elected people advocating for housing, and keep in the front of your mind the people who need us. Collect winter coats, do food drives, keep your congregation caring. It's not new or innovative and may not seem audacious, but I believe with my heart and soul that this is how we are changing the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Medora. That was a real energy booster. Please stand as you are willing and able to sing our final hymn, May This Be a House of Peace.
Yes, as willing and able. I'm going to try my best because I'm very teary right now because I work with the populations and I'm with you. So we are a house of peace, and I hope you sing this hymn in the context of what we just heard and really feel the words, because they do make change in this world.
Let this be our house. Amen.
Okay. Our closing words are from Dorothy Day. For those of you who don't know who Dorothy Day was, she was the founder of a series of Catholic worker houses across primarily the U.S. She worked both with homeless people and the marginalized poor people, and also for peace, and was dedicated to radical hospitality and justice. This piece by her is entitled Commitment. People say, what is the sense of our small effort? They cannot see that we must lay one brick at a time, take one step at a time. A pebble cast into a pond causes ripples that spread in all directions. Each one of our thoughts, words, and deeds is like that. No one has a right to sit down and feel hopeless. There's too much work to do. As we extinguish our chalice, carry the flame of hope with you into the world that needs our commitment to a better life for everyone. Please stay seated for our postlude from our music ministers, and then join one of our post-service activities to turn our hope and concerns into action, including by signing one or more of the housing letters. Now we'll have the postlude.
I'd like to thank the sound crew for their multiple efforts in getting us mic'd. Quite a few things they had to do. That's great. She wrote this song when she was 21. 21. Sing along if you know the words. Rose and flows of angels' hair, and ice cream castles in the air, and feathered canyons everywhere. I looked at clouds that way, but now they only block the sun. They rain and snow on everyone. So many things I would have done, but clouds got in my way. I looked at clouds from both sides down, from up and down, and still somehow it's clouds illusions I recall. I really don't know how. Moons and Junes and Ferris wheels, the dizzy dancing way you feel when fairy tale comes real. I looked at love that way, but now it's just another show. You leave them laughing when you go, and if you care, don't let them know. Don't give yourself away. I looked at love sides now, from give and take, and still somehow it's love's illusions I recall. I really don't know love at all. Tears and fears, feeling proud to say I love you right out loud. Dreams and schemes and circus crowd, I looked at life that way. But now old friends, they're acting strange. They shake their heads, they say I changed, but something lost and something gained in living every day. I looked at life from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow this life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life. I really don't know life. I really don't know life. At all. At all, at all, at all,
Thank you. Thank you.
And Miriam Timmermans, thank you.
Thank you so much. And now, I hope you'll take this opportunity to stay for the question and answer with Medora and to make your concern real, to speak up, to set something down in writing, and let the decision makers know what you want. That's making our, what would you say? Making our concerns concrete and influencing the outcome of the society that we all have to live in. Thank you very much.